There was little discussion at home on why my dad was incarcerated and his status. I think the reason is because my mom really didn't have clarity as to what was going on. She kind of left that when he went to jail. She kind of left that. She closed that chapter and moved on. She would always talk positive about my dad, but there was very little. I had very little context as to what really happened. It wasn't until years later, until I became an adult, and I started really kind of asking questions as to, and really connecting the dots, that I got a full idea, picture of what actually happened. Now, when I went to middle school and I started acting out, that's when I really started again turning rebellious. I remember one story that comes to mind. It's actually my freshman year in high school, where I refused to really do my homework and refused to go to class. Rather than going to class, I would just hang out with my friends, or we jump on the bus and go to Los Angeles, like downtown LA, and go see some, just walk around. And really, I did that because I felt disconnected from school. I felt very much like I was on the outsides looking in, almost like I was watching a high school show on television. I didn't feel part of it. I got to the point where I remember being called to my counselor's office, and my counselor sitting me down and asking me, like, what do you want to do with your life? And I told her, I'm like, well, I don't know. I can't really kind of come up with an idea now. I'm still too young. I'm still trying to figure out the world. And she looked at me like with a straight face, and she goes, you should be a garbage man. And because I had such a rebellious attitude, I replied with, well, they must have great benefits and a great union. So you know what? I think I will be a garbage man, not knowing anything about, the profession. But she was kind of taken back by that. And she looks at me, she goes, well, why don't we start today? And I'm like, well, okay, what do you mean? She goes, well, why don't you hang out with the janitors today? You can pick up trash with them, and we'll see how you like it. We'll see how that goes. So she took me outside. She called one of the custodians over. He had a small, almost like a little golf cart, where he would kind of go around and pick up the trash and dispose of it. So I rode along with him. So I almost rode shotgun. So I'm next to him. And that was a very interesting experience for me, because I'm going through my high school. He's driving. The trash is in the back. I should be in class. I see all my friends going to their classes, talking about what they're going to do, what they're going to wear to the dance, just everyday teenager stuff. And I'm riding shotgun on this little golf cart, picking up trash. So after that day was over, I went back to her, and she's like, how do you like it? And I told him I had a great time with them, again, me being rebellious. But then I looked at her, I'm like, you clearly don't want me here. I'm possibly bringing down your test scores because I'm testing so low. Why don't you just kind of like send me elsewhere? And she's like, yeah, no problem. We'll send you continuation school. So it was my sophomore year that I went to a continuation school. The first one into my sophomore year, and that was my high school experience. So when I went to a continuation school, that's where I feel like I really thrived. What a continuation school is, it's pretty much a one step after you get removed from a traditional high school experience. You get students there that are coming out of camp, coming out of juvie, about to go back to juvie, young moms that need the flexibility because they're working and taking care of a young one. These are young teenage moms. So it was a different experience, but I really enjoyed that environment because I was working with instructors and principals and counselors who had a similar upbringing that I did. Either they too were impacted by incarceration, or they struggled as teenagers, and then now they were professionals. So I kind of gravitated towards them. So I excelled to the point where on an independent study program, I was able to graduate at the age of 17. So here I am, 17, my junior year. I graduated, and I was like, what am I going to do next? Like, I need to figure out what I want to do. At that time, I had very little guidance as to how to even apply for college. I didn't know what the application process looked like, who to go to. There were resources at the high school level, but not that many. And even in the public high school, like the first high school where I got removed from, we had close to about 1,500 students to 2,000 students. So they could only focus on the top performers and the bottom performers, and everyone else just kind of flies under the radar, and you have to figure it out on your own. And it was kind of similar to that in a continuation school. Although there was some support, there wasn't a lot of guidance. But I knew I had to get away. I knew in order for me to grow as an individual, I had to get away from the Almani and just Southern California because I knew there was a bigger world out there.